Today we're talking about that low point in life that you can't dig out of, or at least that you think you can't dig out of. How's it going, guys? drtankpharmd here, board certified practicing medicine specialist and personal health coach, helping action takers like you take back control of their lives and emotional health so that they can feel better and be better. And although I am a practicing medicine specialist, I'm not your specialist. So if you have any questions regarding your condition, please see your doctor. Don't forget to click like and subscribe so you can get the latest updates on the weekly videos. Let's get into it. There's a classic movie, I'm sure some of you may have heard of it, called Rocky. The movie is a great story, but the story behind the original script is even more fascinating. As story goes, Sylvester Stallone wrote this movie in one sitting. He wrote it straight through for days on end. He had the intention of being the main star of the movie. So when he was selling it to movie theaters and trying to pitch it, they offered him up to $300,000 for the script, so long as he doesn't star in it. Now, he was a broke man. He didn't have $100 in his bank account, but he was desperate. He wanted to sell the movie, but he also knew he wanted to be the star of the movie. And imagine if you were in his place. You had no money, and they were offering you $300,000 for your script as long as you don't star in it. But you really desperately wanted to be in the movie because it's your story about struggle, and you wanted to tell people about it. He was so desperate to be the star of the movie, and he knew his vision was to be an actor. He had to sacrifice everything he had for it. It got to the point where he was so desperate that he sold his best friend his dog. It killed him to sell his dog because he knew his dog loved him, but he had to sacrifice his dog for food. He was lucky enough that he was able to sell the script, get the money to buy back his dog too. His decision was fortunately and luckily reversible. Now, there are other stories about people who have faced this desperate moment in their lives. One example is Viktor Frankl. He's the author of Man's Search for Meaning. He was one of the people who was imprisoned by the Jewish concentration camps by the Nazis. Now, these people had everything taken from them. Their family, their wealth, their homes. Everything was ripped away from them. Their families were even killed in front of them. These were people who were imprisoned, even though the reason they were imprisoned is something they had no control over. And regardless of who they were, how accomplished they were still imprisoned. It couldn't get any worse. And many of them fell to depression and misery because of it. And who could blame them? This was one of the darkest times in human history. But Viktor Frankl saw this differently. He saw this as an opportunity for him to get stronger, because he wanted to believe he could be with his family again. Nelson Mandela was also imprisoned, but he didn't take this opportunity to fall to depression, but instead he took it as an opportunity to get stronger and grow, because he knew his vision was to be president of the country one day. And we could take another example in recent movies, in Avengers Endgame. Captain America was faced with an entire army against him. Half the universe was gone. His friends were fallen or dead. His weapon destroyed, and he was severely injured. There was nothing except him standing in the way of an entire army taking him down. But his principle was that he wanted to defend those who were weaker. In this moment of despair, where there was almost no hope left, he still stood up. And he was lucky that there were people to come support him. Now, there are other examples in movies where they face this point of despair, and they were going to make the decision to end it all. In the movie It's a Wonderful Life, George Bailey is accused of stealing money from his company. He was faced with prison time. In addition, he was feeling other things fall onto him. Like he was accused of cheating on his wife. His house was drafty and falling apart. His kid was sick as well. And at the point of despair in his life, he was gonna take it all away. Fortunately, his angel jumped in and saved him. But at that moment, he would have taken his life away for the insurance money. We could talk about how these are stories of resilience and how people have struggled but won in the end. But what I want to talk about is that point of despair. That lowest point of your life where you have to dig to get out. That point is very painful and it's so hard to get out of. It's so difficult to dig out of that hole that some people would prefer to stay there because it's so much work to even get one step out of there. When I was unemployed and I didn't have a place to stay, I only had the clothes on my back and the clothes in my car. I was fortunate that my sister was able to take care of my dog. But this felt like one of the lowest points in my life. I was wandering around trying to find purpose in my life. And at one point, I'd even consider ending it all. I was wandering around trying to find a purpose for this and a reason why things were happening to me. I was struggling because it was painful, but I couldn't figure out how to dig my way out of there. One of the easiest things to do when you're down there is to feel the anger. You feel that pain and you want to mask it with anger because it's easier to deal with anger. You want other people to feel the way you do. You want the revenge of them feeling that pain as well. And it doesn't end very well because when you're angry, that anger leaches to other people. And then when you get revenge and have them feel that pain, your purpose is gone. And you feel just as lost as you were before. You don't feel better, and they don't feel better. If you find that anger and use it as fuel, it's a good drive. But at some point, you have to realize that that drive isn't going to continue forever. At some point, you'll reach your goal. Or if you don't reach your goal, you'll just continue driving until it eats away inside you. That anger doesn't help you at all. It takes so much energy out of you. When you're angry, you're constantly leeching away at your energy. Being angry all the time is like constantly holding a weight. Your body is constantly under stress and you're draining away energy doing nothing except being angry. It doesn't help you and it doesn't help anybody else. Now you might be wondering, how do you get rid of all this pain? How do you dig yourself out from that despair? Maybe you've been there before and you're still stuck. Or maybe you're still there now. How do you get out of this pain and misery? Well, let's look at Viktor Frankl. There were millions of other Jewish people enslaved by these camps, but he chose to look at hope. What's the difference between the two people? Because they were in the same situation. Well, if you look at the external factors, everything's the same because they were in the same spot, living the same lives and treated the same way. So the only difference is the way they interpreted the situation internally. What one person saw as despair, another person saw as an opportunity for hope. And this is where it gets a little tricky, because some people believe that being hopeful is being delusional. There's a big difference with being delusional. Because when you're delusional, you don't see the facts for what they are. If you're delusional, you see a poor situation and you think everything is fine. As opposed to being hopeful. Because when you're hopeful, you see that situation and you see it as an opportunity to learn and grow. So all the people who saw despair were only looking at the situation and didn't see a way to learn and grow. Whereas Viktor Frankl saw it as a chance for him to grow as a person, hope for a future with his family. He was able to grow from that and survive it. And what's more is he even wrote about it to tell other people the message of the search for meaning and hope. He was able to find his principle and survive and dig himself out. With Sylvester Stallone, his principle was that he wanted to be an actor so that he could tell his story to other people. This is his story of struggle that he wanted other people to hear. And he stood on that and stood firm to that. And that's how he grew and got out of that despair. Captain America stood for the weaker people because he didn't want the bullies to win. Even though he was struggling against an entire army, he had to stand up for what he believed in. He found his principle and stood up for it. That was the hope that was driving him. That's the relationship you see with a lot of teachers and students, or also mentor and mentees. The teacher is able to see the student for more than what they are now. They see the hope and potential that can grow from that person, so they want to nurture it and help them grow. This could apply to you as well. As somebody who's lived a life that you have, you've gained skills and knowledge that you can hand down to others who are younger and inexperienced. Everybody has a story to tell. Everybody has experience and skills of some sort. That's the way you could pass down what you learn to someone else. That could give you hope, and you could give that hope to other people to grow. That's why hope is so powerful. Not only do you give it, but you could get it back in return. And this hope is what separates good parents from great ones. If you're a good parent, you ensure that your kids have food, shelter, and they can survive. But as a great parent, you see their potential. You see the hope that they have for themselves, and you see the hope that you have for them. You want to see them grow, and you nurture that. That's what makes a great parent what they are. They don't just see you as you are now, but they see you in your potential. You might be wondering, well, I'm too far gone. I've made too many decisions that I can't change, and everything is irreversible. Well, that's why you have to make the shift. Because when you're in a concentration camp, you could look at the pain and misery, or you could look at the hope and growth. If you don't make that shift, you won't have the principles you need to stand on and dig your way out of there. It's a lot easier to give pity to yourself and stay where you are. Yes, it's a lot of work to dig out of that despair, but that hope can help you tremendously. It could give you a boost to help dig your way out of there. If you don't shift your mindset, you aren't going to get out of there. You're going to be stuck there forever. And you know whose fault that will be? What do you guys think? How do you guys find hope? Let me know in the comments down below. If you're an action taker and want fast results so that you could feel better and be better, check out the Emotional RX program, where we provide tools to help you deal with handling your emotions, how you feel, and how you take care of them. Because your emotions can go off like a flash grenade, and you can feel blinded and deaf to everything that's going on. But with these tools, you can take back control, and take back control of your emotional health, so that you can take back control of your life. Don't forget to click like and subscribe, and until next time guys, be healthy.